Hey everybody, it's Deborah. I have another watercolor project for us today. We're going to be painting a Posy of Pansies. I'll be walking you through the steps that I use to finish this painting. And if you'd like to see the full tutorial, you can visit my website at perigeuxfineart.com. It's listed below in the description box. And also, if you like this video, press that like button and please subscribe to my channel. I'd also like to have comments from you on anything else you'd like to see me paint in the future. Thanks so much for joining me here today. Let's have some fun. I'm making sure that my paper is saturated. I do have it down on a piece of foam core. And I'm going to just start washing over some of these areas. And of course we'll be going back in and glazing in here. Now I'm going to make a little bit more ultramarine mixture for these lower two flowers. Put a little bit of the violet in there. So it's nice to have a combination of colors. Now some of these petals are fairly white, like in this area here, so I'm keeping an eye on that, and I will lift if I find that my color is saturating a little bit more than I anticipated. I'm just getting a little more of that color around the edges of these petals. I'm going to bring a little bit deeper color up to this top flower. You know that these paints, these watercolors have a tendency to fade away as they dry, so I always feel like I want to get as much color down as possible. And that's looking pretty good to me. I'm going to get a little more of the ultramarine in here and bring that just to the edges of these flowers. Yeah, and this one too has a little, I don't want to forget that. These are from some photographs that I took in my yard. So, and I put a layout together in Photoshop. I think I'm going to just try and wash a little bit of this towards the center on this flower. I feel like it's almost a little bit bluer in here. And maybe I'll bring this up a little bit more. Okay, so now just keeping an eye on all of that. And I'm going to get some greens now. So I have my green gold and my olive green and my mixture, that olive, green gold, and some indigo, or you can always use, you know, a little bit of ultramarine blue to make that darker green color. And I'm going to start with my green gold, which actually looks very yellow when you start off with that. But even mixing it a little with this blue and violet, so I'll get a little bit more of the olive in here now, and I will take some of that down here at the bottom. Again, this is just our base wash, so we'll just be letting this color move itself around. And that's looking pretty good. Let's see, a little bit more here. Careful of those. So, now the other thing I want to drop in here while this is wet, I'm going to be grabbing a smaller brush, number 8, and getting a little bit of Cad Yellow Deep. And I don't want to have too much on my brush. I'm going to be dropping that right here in the centers of these flowers. And I think I'll also take just a little bit of Cad Orange as well. And that's right up here, just right there. Now those little centers are white, so this is where I would take a damp brush and try and lift that out. And as you know, I'm always fine with using a little bit of white gouache if necessary. So I'm also going to just take a little bit more of this ultramarine blue, and I'm dropping it in my background to give it a little feeling of clouds. And I don't want a lot, but so I can lift a little. Try that again. I felt like I had a little too much green still on my brush. And there's not a lot of areas really that are going to be taking that color. I might just bring it a little bit further out here. So I'm liking the way this is coming along, and I'm going to take a break here and let this dry. Be back shortly. So I'm going to start just bringing some serious color here to the edge of this petal. I'm going to bring it all the way around to here. And then I'm going to be washing that in, just taking some water on my brush and just touching that edge. Now, often I just put the water away from the color and then bring them together. So putting the water here and then just pulling those together. So you end up with a little bit more of a highlight that way. Now later we will also bring in a few of those veins. So I'm just going to go right now into this next petal here. And I'm watching this one. Maybe I want to just drop a little more color along the edge. And just a little back here where it's behind this other petal. Dropping a little more color at this edge here. And going for some water. So again, you can just put that water down onto your petal and then pull it into that color, and that gives that color a direction, somewhere to go. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more here. And I'm going to start with this front petal. And you can see just glazing over where that green had, flowed into the petal, which is just fine. Gives it a little more depth. Grabbing some water, putting it away from that paint, and then bringing those together. Letting that flow nicely. Smoothing everything out. Coming around there. Grabbing some water on my brush, clean water. Pulling it in towards that color and then letting them touch. Now I do want to make sure I have some water all the way through the center, and if I feel like I get a little too much color in there, I can lift it with just a damp brush. I'm going to work on this top flower and go right into this large petal. Now again, this one is behind, so I always like to make it a little darker, a little shadow. So I'm putting a little bit extra pigment in here. But yes, of course, I want to get to it before it dries. I'm going to pull that right down into this center and bring this all the way in and start to bring that color up around this top edge. And you always want to make sure it's staying wet as you work your way around. Following my lines here. And up around this edge, I might make it a little darker. Some water, dropping that water in and softening that edge. I have to say it's already starting to set up, so I always have to be aware of that possibility, keeping the paint moving. Now I do have a little hard edge there, and what I usually do is just drop more paint in, kind of disguise that, and I can do that here as well. So it's like you're charging this paint into the wet paint that's already on here. And I feel like this could come down a little further. And we will put some veins in here later. I'm going to drop a little bit of blue right in here. There. So we're going to be going in and finishing up these two petals on the front flowers with our ultramarine blue. It has just a little bit of violet in it. Putting down that gorgeous color, and I'm going to bring it all the way up to the edge here, next to that bottom petal, oops, of that top flower. And now I'll just take some water, softening that in. Just dropping a little more color in here. It's a little bit darker. And I feel I could drop a little bit more of this ultramarine in here. Down towards the center. And that looks nice. I like that.